Good morning, friends. Today I'll take a little more time to detail for us how we can become good stewards. We have been looking at the book of Genesis. We look at the four main players there. We want to understand a little bit more or much more of what it means to be good stewards, especially as we look at it from the book of Genesis. Genesis is not just a recording of an ancient old event. It is a book packed with relevant, up-to-date information for creators of every age. Every single one of us will have a moment of real creation. The way we approach our week of creation will determine the quality world within which we live. Let's go back to Genesis. Let's start with the master of the universe. He arrived at the point, wherever he's coming from, that's not our concern at the moment, but he arrived at the point where decision was made to create this world. For that week of creation, notice it started with chaos and disorder. As far as I observe through scripture and much of history, every creation event or every new beginning is preceded by moments of chaos and disorder. And so it was with the creation story of Genesis. There was chaos and disorder. When you have chaos and disorder in your life, what do? Notice what is happening. In the first place, we're told that the Spirit of God moved upon the waters, moved through the chaos and the disorder. Again, when you work through scriptures, you discover that for life to be generated into and through anything, it's the Spirit of God. Jesus said, unless we be born of the water and the Spirit, we're not in the kingdom. So the Spirit of God moved upon the chaos and disorder, and as it were, activated all the potentials for life. Then we notice that the Master spoke to the nothingness with authority. If we're going to be good stewards, we must reach the place where we can speak to all that is before us with a certain amount of authority. Jesus brought out much of this in his teaching. All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore. What he was suggesting to them is that they go in that power. Good stewards must have a certain amount of power. Then notice what is happening next. The Master packed good things, things relevant to living, things that would help to make the universe a pleasant place. a lovely place, a place desirable. He packed those things into time and space. Then he looked for an agent, one like himself. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And he empowered him to be the caretaker, the one looking after his creation. Not only that, but he, as it were, gave permission, gave power, gave instruction for procreation. He was not afraid to work with them. If we look at the bigger picture, we can begin to understand that there was the possibility of the stewards turning away from him, having their own way, following another master. But God was willing to take the chance to set up the whole thing. And man was to have free will, and he was to move out and look after the world. That was the master's approach to creation. And so we have that superb world coming into existence. And the adversary. Let's look at the adversary. He was part of that early creation move. His business was to disconnect. The master set up the creation so that it could move along in harmony, could move along and develop and be a perfect order. Yes, it started off with some perfection, but there was development to take place. The adversary, he tried to disconnect the steward from the master, to disconnect the steward from the estate, to bring about that disconnection within the steward himself. There are many today who are functioning just like that early adversary. Jesus said they go after their master, the devil, was a liar from the beginning. He deceives so that people might not have that which is to make them better stewards. I've seen it several times in my experience. Man gave a story. They were to buy stocks and shares in some companies. A friend of his told him, no, I wouldn't bother with that. Waste of time. And the friend worked on him, believed that he had changed his mentality, changed his thinking. And so the friend went away feeling satisfied that he had disconnected him from purposeful investment. The man was determined he would not listen to that adversary. When the time arrived for them to go down to a certain institution and buy the shares, he went down. But when he was there in the line, he peeped over to the front of the line. That deceiver was up the front trying to get his portion. And there are many, many, many stories. You have gone through some of them. I've seen many of them. I am one of those who might be classified as Windrush migrants to Britain. Now, in early days when we went to Britain, many of us as youngsters want to be doctors, want to be engineers. We were not just thinking frivolously. We had the determination to better ourselves with good education. But you know something? There were teachers, there were fellow students, there were peers, there were even some people from our own group who discouraged a goodly number of those, and they finished their lives not much better than they went up to England. Some of us, fortunately, mainly because we were connected to the Master, and we had a wee little connection to the estate, we were able to survive their deception and manage to get education and to get a little wealth too. So be careful when you dialogue with other people. Listen to what they're saying. Try and find out if their dialogue with you is to disconnect you from what you know to be right. What you were told before would be helpful. Then we have the man of Genesis. He allowed himself to be charmed into disloyalty. Even if it's trying to bring a solution to a problem, it's something that is to say to others, good can come, and you are asked to be disloyal, think 10 times before getting into such. Then there was the woman. She found herself in a position away from her husband, away from the Master of the universe, a place where the adversary could isolate her and start a nice dialogue with her. And so he did. He dialogued with her. She dialogued with him. Dialogue. You know, sometimes we think we know very well what is to be talked about, what we are to communicate to others. By the way, I've seen a lot of it through my many years in the ministry. Telling others your problems, sometimes even telling them the good things that happen to you, the good things you have experienced. And because you told them something of your experience, they use it to undermine. Careful how you dialogue. Careful with whom you dialogue. Careful when you dialogue. Careful about the matter in dialogue. And so it was. The adversary deceived, The man succumbed to nice, charming language or sympathy. The woman, she was deceived, and the creation was the universe, or should we say the world, was completely gone. The adversary took what was to be the steward's position. And not only that, because the steward was now disconnected from the master of the universe, through whom life would be flowing to him, then he would experience total disconnection. You want to be a good steward? Listen to the master as stewards dialogue with one another. Get information. Move into action authoritatively. Create a nice world for your own. Many around will tell you this can't be done, that can't be done. I listened not too long ago, and someone was suggesting that anyone speaking to you about prosperity is an enemy and is an ungodly person. Listen carefully. Anyone who tells you that you cannot prosper or there is no possibility for us all to prosper, compare with what the good book is saying again and see if that is true. The master desires that all his stewards should prosper. Ask me, will all the stewards prosper? No, because many will be deceived. Many will listen to the voice of the adversary. And because they listen to the voice of the adversary, they will violate the laws of nature and the laws of God. And they will not experience prosperity. This is my message to you today. You can be a good steward, a prosperous steward, a living steward, a creative steward. Be blessed this day. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Have a wonderful day.